The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he added no sorrow with it. It's as sport to a fool to do mischief, but a man of understanding hath wisdom. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. A vinegar to the teeth, and a smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. The fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. The mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the froward tongue shall be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness. Once or twice more in the chapter we return to the refrain of hold your tongue till you know what you are talking about. Verses 31 and 32. But now the discourse switches to matters of judgment on the wicked and rewards for the righteous. Verse 22. The blessing of the Lord it maketh rich. If a New Testament Christian could claim this promise, he would have one of the greatest promises in the Bible, for the promise has a postscript on which reads, and he added no sorrow with it. If the verse simply means that when God blesses a man, he adds no sorrow at the time of the blessing, it can be claimed. However, Paul was blessed as very few men were, and he certainly couldn't claim and didn't claim. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 22. Notice the vocabulary of 2 Corinthians: anguish, perplexity, bondage, weak, persecuted, groaning, burdened, sorry, perils, pain, infirmities, terrified, sufferings, imprisonments, necessities, despair, mourning, trembling, poverty, offended, afflictions, beaten, stoned, hunger, faint, chastened, etc. By the standards of Solomon, Paul must have been out of the will of God and under a curse. Job's wife presumes that this is the case with Job, and she has more cause for thinking it than we could have for thinking it about Paul, for Job is an Old Testament character. We make a spiritual application and say the sorrow is limited to the pangs of conscience that accompany the acquisition of things the wrong way. If the Lord gives them to us, there is cause for rejoicing and thanksgiving and no after effects. However, Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Philippians chapter 4 verses 3 to 6. When his blessing is lacerated back and handcuffs, it's a sport to a fool to do mischief. Verse 23. This verse should be laid alongside chapter 26 verse 18. The first copy of the Authorized Version 1611 had it as a sport. This is quite typical of the 1400 and some changes which modern revisers mention when they try to justify the 5,788 changes which were made in the Bible in 1884, Revised Version New Testament. The corrections in punctuation and spelling of the English words, Dr. Parrish 1762 and Dr. Blaney 1769, are held up to the Bible believer as proof that the ASV 1901 and the RSV 1952 have a perfect right to correct certain passages in the AV 1611. The gullible ministerial students is not told that the 5,788 changes to be made are made in the Greek text by swapping the Antiochian text of Paul for the Egyptian text of Origen and Jerome. What the conservative and fundamental schools are matriculating are critics raised on the traditions of the Roman Catholic Church, where they touch the Bible as an authority. Verse 25. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more. The primary doctrinal reference is, of course, to the second advent. See Amos chapter 1 verse 14, Nahum chapter 1 verse 3, and Jeremiah chapter 23 verse 19, Psalm chapter 58 verse 9, and Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 4. Notice how much of what follows can be placed on the beginning of the millennium, where it relates to the state of the righteous and the wicked at that time. Verses 26, 28, and 30 in the millennium, and right at the end of the tribulation, it's true that first, the years of the wicked shall be shortened, verse 27. Second, the fear of the Lord prolonged days, verse 27. Third, the expectation of the wicked shall perish, verse 28. Fourth, the righteous shall never be removed, verse 30. Fifth, the wicked shall not inhabit the earth, verse 30. Sixth, the righteous is an everlasting foundation, verse 25. Seventh, the hope of the righteous shall be gladness, verse 28. Bullinger misses the entire passage, but this is to be expected, since all the work is based on the theory that the church is the subject of revelation and Israel is the subject of prophecy. Having eliminated the Old Testament and 3/4 of the New from having any real relevancy to Christian experience and knowledge, Bullinger, as O'Hare, lightly overlooks the prophecies when they appear slightly veiled. The Septuaginta makes an unholy mess of verses 24, 25, 26, 29, 31, and 32, and by now the reader should be worn out with the constant mention of this disgraceful and sloppy Christian Bible, so-called. Nearly all scholars subscribe to the delusion that Jesus and the apostles quoted before Christ's Septuagint. Verse 26. As vinegar to the teeth, smoke to the eyes. Here are two beautiful illustrations of a lazy servant who is entrusted with a message or an errand. Vinegar sets most people's teeth on edge, like someone's scratching their nails across blackboard. And when smoke gets in your eyes, the tears start. Verse 26. The sluggard is obviously a grief and a gall to the man who sends him on the errand. Verses 27 and 28 have been commented on under chapter 8 verses 13 to 18 and chapter 3 verses 1 to 3. Verse 29 is obvious in its moral teaching, Psalm chapter 25 verse 12 and Matthew chapter 22 verse 16. Verse 30, the righteous shall never be removed. This is especially true of first Israel in the land after 1948, Amos chapter 9 verses 14 and 15. Second, Christians who inherit the millennial inheritance, Romans chapter 8 verses 18 to 22. Third, people in the millennium who live by the rules found in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapters 5 to 7. And verse 30, the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. This obviously has no reference to anything that has happened since the proverb was written. It's only true of Revelation chapter 21 and 22, when it will be fulfilled to the letter, Matthew chapter 5 verse 5, Leviticus chapter 26 verse 33, Isaiah chapter 22 verse 7, and Isaiah chapters 65 to 66. Verse 31, the mouth of the just matches verses 20 and 21. But the froward tongue shall be cut out. Verse 31, probably as in Matthew chapter 3 verse 10 and Luke chapter 13 verse 7, although there is a chance of the word coming to pass literally and individually. See Matthew chapter 24 verse 51. Verse 32, see verses 20 and 21. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, in the sense that they know what God will accept when it's spoken. So they speak acceptable words. Note Psalm chapter 19 verse 14. We have mentioned before and proved before that these acceptable words in the immediate context are the words given to Solomon in Ecclesiastes and Proverbs. See Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 10. In their remoter context, They refer to the entire Bible and the daily speech which comes from lips that have been touched with the fire of Isaiah chapter 6 verses 1 to 6 before speaking. See 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 3, Romans chapter 15 verse 2, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 12, Romans chapter 14 verse 19. Proverbs 10 ends with frowardness. See chapter 2 verse 12, the word for twisted, crooked, or turned aside.